Hola, estudiantes. This is take number 53 for indirect object pronouns. Just kidding. This is my first try. So we'll see how it goes. So anyway, indirect object pronouns is our subject for today. Now we talked about direct object pronouns. So our focus is going to be on indirect object pronouns. So first of all, let's figure out what an indirect object pronoun is in English first. So the indirect object, or the IO, tells us where the direct object is going, okay? Where the direct object is going. It answers the question to whom or for whom the action of the verb is performed, okay? Now to me that's a whole bunch of mumbly jumbly, so let's look at some examples to see if we can visualize this. I give Luis the ticket. To whom do I give the ticket? To Luis. So Luis is our indirect object. The direct object, what do I give? The ticket. So that's our direct object. And then finally, who is giving the ticket? I am. So I am the subject. Okay? Let's check out another example. He buys the flowers for me. For whom does he buy the flowers? For me. So I, me, I'm the indirect object. What is he buying? Flowers, so that's the direct object. And then who is doing the buying? He is, so he is the subject. Okay? So I want you to identify the indirect object by underlining it on your notes. So here's your first opportunity to stop and practice and see if you understand and are able to identify the indirect object in English. So go ahead and hit pause and underline the indirect object now. Alright, let's see how you did. The teacher gives us an A. Who does the teacher give an A to? Us. So we are the indirect object. Bill Gates sends $1 million to me. Who does Bill Gates send $1 million to? Moi. My parents bought my brother a new car. Who do my parents buy a new car? For my brother. And then finally, Julia tells the big secret to Martha. Who does Julia tell the big secret to? Martha. So those are our indirect objects in English. Okay, so hopefully you have a good understanding about those indirect objects in English. So now we're going to switch and figure them out in Spanish. So remember, the pronoun takes the place of the indirect object. So first, we've got me, te, le, nos, os, and les. Those are indirect object pronouns in Spanish. So our translations would be me would be me, te would be you, le could stand for him, her, or you formal, nos stands for us, you all, os is you all, and remember that's when we're in Spain, and les could stand for them or you all formal. Okay, here's your next opportunity to stop and practice. I want you to write in the correct indirect object pronoun that would replace those 6 subjects. So hit pause and write in the correct indirect object pronoun in Spanish. Time to check your answers. For the passengers would be les. Us would be nos. For me, me. My sister would be le. To you, te. And you all familiar would be os. Or you all in Spain would be os. Okay? Okay, so IOPs. So that in creating a sentence, the indirect object pronoun is placed immediately before the conjugated verb. Immediately before the conjugated verb. Now that should sound familiar because that's the same rule for DOPs. Alright, so here are some examples. Juan me compra un boleto. Juan buys me a ticket, or Juan buys a ticket for me. Notice here we've got Juan, our subject, me, our indirect object pronoun, our verb compra, and then our direct object un boleto. Yo le digo la respuesta a la maestra. Again, I tell the teacher the answer, or you could say I tell the answer to the teacher. Our subject, yo. Our indirect object pronoun, le. Our verb, digo. La respuesta is our direct object. And then a la maestra, we're going to talk about that prepositional phrase here in just a minute, but that clarifies that le. And then finally, la auxiliar de vuelo no nos da la tarjeta de embarque. The flight attendant doesn't give us the boarding pass, or the flight attendant doesn't give the boarding pass to us. Again, we have our subject, la auxiliar de vuelo, our word no, because remember our indirect object pronoun goes before our conjugated verb, so nos is our indirect object pronoun, da, our verb, and la tarjeta de embarque is our direct object. All right, so I want you to think in phrases. Don't try to translate word for word because our word order in English and Spanish are different. So how would you say, he gives me, you give me, or they give me? And our verb to give here is dar. Our verb to give is dar, so that might help you out. So let's check our answers. He gives me, me da. You give me, me das. And they give me, me dan. And our second set, I give him, I give you, and I give them. Le doy, te doy, and les doy. So start thinking about these in phrases. All right, and now we're going to talk about that prepositional phrase. So le and les are ambiguous, just like with our verb gustar. So to clarify, le could mean to or for him, to her, or to you all formal. Les then, in turn, could be plural. So to them, to you all formal. So those are le and les. So to ease the confusion, we add the prepositional phrase with the personal a, or the word para means for. Remember, we talked about that personal a at the beginning of this lesson, or this unit. So, ella le escribe una carta a Juan. So if we just said, ella le escribe una carta, she writes a letter to them, but we don't know who it is. So we'd say, a Juan. Ella les escribe a sus hermanos una carta. Again, notice we can have a little bit different word order in those examples. Okay, we've got some common verbs that use indirect object pronouns. So here's a list for you. It's important that you are comfortable with using these verbs and knowing what their translations are. So dar, to give, enviar, to send, mandar also means to send, comprar, to buy, decir means to say or to tell, traer, to bring, servir, to serve. Notice that's an E to I stem changer. Preguntar, to ask, mostrar, to show. That's an O to UE stem changer. And regalar means to give as a gift. All right, last part of our notes for today. I've got 4 sentences for you that I would like for you to translate into Spanish. So our parents give us a trip. The passengers show the itinerary to you. We buy a round trip ticket for Marta. And I don't bring the luggage for you all. And we're in Spain there. So take a minute and really try to translate these sentences so you can see where you're at. Okay, let's check your answers. Nuestros padres, our parents, nos dan un viaje. They give us a trip. Número 2. Los pasajeros te muestran el itinerario. Número 3. We buy a round trip ticket for Marta. Nosotros le compramos un boleto de ida y vuelta a Marta. Again, notice we added that a Marta to specify the le. And then finally, yo no os traigo el equipaje. All right, please make sure that you filled out your notes and you write down any questions that you have, and we'll continue this conversation about indirect object pronouns in class, next class period. Thanks for listening, and have a good night.